Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, greetings of peace and Ramadan Kareem. I hope you are having a wonderful Ramadan, inshallah, and using the Ramadan to its utmost with fasting, with dua, and with prayers. Today, we are going to have a talk about death, but not in a sense that you're usually familiar with it. And we're joined by our dear sister, Sharifa Carlos. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How are you, dear Sharifa?
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. I'm doing good, thank you.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Sharifa has a master's degree in English composition and rhetoric from the United States, and is currently working as an instructor of the College of Technology here in Kuwait. So, dear Sharifa, what brought you to Islam? I mean, you having studied rhetoric and composition, you know, a lot of the times the question would be, what would bring a Western woman studying those topics all the way to Islam?
Well, actually, composition and rhetoric has a lot to do with it. I came in originally with a group, and we were trying to destroy Islam. We were trying to take people away from practicing Islam to living a life of having nothing to do with Islam except maybe on Fridays going to the mosque. And
so you were out to destroy it initially?
Yes, yes. I wanted to work with women's rights and taking women away from the practices of hijab and the practices that distinguish her as a Muslim woman.
You are actually having the conviction that you're doing the right thing for these poor people, saving them, or?
Saving them, actually, subhanAllah. I thought I was taking them out of the darkness to the light of the 20th century. But okay. SubhanAllah, I was in darkness.
Your intention, you know, I mean, you weren't out to be evil, but you had the intention that you actually wanted to, like you said, take them out of the darkness into the light.
Yeah. So, alhamdulillah, through my studies, in order to try to destroy Islam, I had to actually learn what is Islam.
Yes.
And the more I learned about it, the more I loved it. The more I knew about Islam, the more I knew that this actually is the truth, and that what I had been practicing was actually a lie.
SubhanAllah, so what was the reaction of the group that you were with when that actually happened? I mean, you're in with this group that is, whose purpose is to take people away from Islam. They're probably training you to a certain degree to do that, and all of a sudden you're doing exactly the opposite. You are going towards Islam.
Well, they actually threw me out of the university.
They threw you out of the university?
They threw me out of the university.
So they had something to do with your university studies?
They were paying for it.
Wow, they were paying, actually putting you through college to train to take people away from Islam.
Exactly.
SubhanAllah. So they threw you out. They didn't continue paying basically your college fees.
They wouldn't want me to now teach Islam or talk about Islam in any positive way.
Because you now have that power of having studied that and using it exactly in the opposite sense.
Exactly.
SubhanAllah, but you got your master's anyway. Good for you.
Yes,
MashaAllah. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So, you know, lately I've just been a little reflective on the topic of death. Not in a morbid sense, but just more aware that it is one of those things that is it's actually the only thing that's guaranteed. It's the only thing in our life that's 100% guaranteed to happen to every single person ever born. And just that realization, I was watching, you know, we women, we don't get as much chance, or, you know, because of our lifestyle, we're home with the children, or we're busy at work, or whatever, and
or
transportation,
even
culturally possibly even, yes. We don't have that, we're not that exposed to funerals, funeral prayers, going to the graveyard regularly. You know, the men tend to do that more often, although we're not kept from that, alhamdulillah. However, it's just not part of our life as much as it would be of a man's life. I know that some of the men, some of the brothers, mashallah, they go regularly, even if somebody passes away that is not of their community, of their immediate family, they will still go and do the funeral prayers. So we don't usually do that as a habit. So when I was I know one time I was watching the funeral of somebody in my family, and that just kind of made me reflective of SubhanAllah, and that person was very young, Allah yarhamu, and kind of put things into perspective. You know, for a while I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. I wasn't sad. I was just like, well, you know, why? Why am I spending so much time doing this and running after that, running after this, if this is what I should be working towards? You know, subhanAllah, for that moment. Yeah. And I thought it sounds maybe a little morbid, but it's not a good thing, a good practice. If somebody has that strength to do it, is to keep your cloth sitting there as a reminder. I don't know if I would have the strength to do that, but to have that sitting there and then have all your other clothes and decide, okay, hold on, you know, my woman worried about what I'm wearing today and spending so much money on my clothes and stuff. If that's going to be the last piece I'm wearing, then I should be working more towards filling that out properly with my deeds and everything than everything else. So that leads me to my first question for you. What is the purpose of life? If we're talking about death, we first have to talk about life. So why are we here as human beings, and what's the purpose of being here?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created human beings and jinns except, He didn't create us except to worship Him. This is our purpose in this life. We're not here for the husband, we're not here for the children, we're not here for the degree. We're not here for anything, not for the socializing, not to be a fashionista. We are here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, we as women, as you say, we don't have always that connection. But even Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to us, remember the death. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, go visit the graveyards. He wants us to keep death in the foreshadow, not in the back of our minds. And one of the things that's really important, because you asked me the purpose, but what is the goal of life?
Okay, we'll come back to that in just a second. So that's really important to know what our goal is, because we shouldn't be anywhere in a job, even in a job, we always say we have to have a goal. In our lesson plans, in our schools, right, we have to have a goal. So what about our goal in life? So we'll be back with that in 1 minute, inshallah. We'll go on a break and we'll be right back.
One song can change a moment. One idea can change a world. One step can start a journey. But a prayer can change even the impossible.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear viewers. We are on a very important subject that addresses each and every one of us human beings, the subject of the purpose of life. So dear Sharifa, you said, what are our goals in life? And that is so true. You know, in any workplace, even if we go grocery shopping, right, we're always going to say, what's the goal of today? What are my goals? Even if I go grocery shopping, I have a shopping list. Right? And I said, my goal is to buy the ingredients for this meal or for these meals for the next week. We always decide to have goals for things. So something so important is our life. We do need to have goals. SubhanAllah.
Well, and the strange thing is, the goal in our life is actually death. This is our goal.
That's the end of it.
This is what we're working towards.
That's
It's like
true.
the student. The student is in the college and he's working and studying in order to, not for the test, he's not working for the test, he's working for the graduation.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's after the graduation that his real life begins.
Yep.
After he finishes his college, then his life begins. The same for us.
And then he works for retirement, and then he works for,
Exactly.
It's always like something, yeah. That's
But
true.
even at that, as a student, your goal is graduation.
Yes.
Okay? As a human, your goal is to die, because this life is not the real life. This life is not what we women are here for. We're not here to worship some man. We're not here to worship our children. We're not here to worship an education. We're not here to worship clothes or shoes. We're here to worship Allah and to die. And that death, you know, subhanAllah, so many times we consider death to be a horrible event. But subhanAllah, it should be an event where we are happy, that we are rejoicing. This person has reached their goal. This person has finally made it to where they're going. And sometimes, you know, as a woman, some of us have the horrible experience of losing a child. And this death can destroy the woman.
Yeah. If they don't react and handle it in the correct way.
Exactly, exactly. And you know, you ask yourself why. He was just a baby, he was just a child, he was just a teenager, he was a young man. Why did my child go? And the answer is because he reached the time that was best for him to leave this earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes us at the best time for us. He leaves us longer if we need more time to repent. He gives us the chance to the very end to make repentance. But when He takes us at such a point, especially somebody before puberty, you die before puberty, you die without sins. So this is the best time for that person to leave this earth. I'll give you an example. I'm a teacher. Now, I don't teach little children, but imagine I have a second grade student. This girl, she can do calculus. She can recite and create poetry. She has a mind to analyze literature and history. She can discuss politics with you, and she's in the second grade.
So a genius, basically.
A genius. Do I take this child as a teacher who has, you know, the mentality that we should bring our children forward to learn as much as possible? Should I take this child and keep her in a book where she's saying things like 2 + 2 is 4? Or do I push with the administration, with the Department of Education?
You keep challenging that child to her
not just
best
challenge,
of abilities.
if I can, I move her ahead.
Yes.
How many children do we have in this world? People who at 18 become doctors.
Yes.
Because they were pushed ahead because it was recognized that these people are above. So if you have a child that is, you know, this child is going to go through everything, and in the end, where she is now is better than where she will be later, then you take her from this time. If Allah knows that this child, this is the best time for them to have Jannat al-Firdaus, and He takes them at that point, you should rejoice. Alhamdulillah, my child has what I'm dreaming for. They've achieved more than if they had gotten that education. They've achieved more than if they brought me grandkids. They have achieved Allah's promise, which is Jannah. And that is our goal.
That's true.
Our goal is to work and to strive and to do everything in this life to make it to death, which is the doorway to the next.
SubhanAllah, that puts everything so much more in perspective, and especially women are very emotional when it comes to the passing of somebody close to them, right? And the way they react to that passing, unfortunately, sometimes goes beyond normal grief. So how should people handle then the fact that somebody has passed away close to them?
Well, actually, just recently, within the last week or so, my children, they have a best friend, and his grandfather passed away. May Allah have mercy on his soul. And subhanAllah, he was in my house when we received the phone call, please come home, your grandfather has passed away. And I drove him home. And all I could remind him of, his grandfather had been sick in the hospital for quite some time. He had been in a hospital, unable to do anything. He was in pain. He was suffering. And subhanAllah, I kept telling him, look, I want you to think about something. When we die, and we die believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we die having done our best, and you know your grandfather, mashallah, was a good man. And he tried his best, he prayed, he fasted, he did what he could. So, subhanAllah, this friend of my son was suffering. And I told him, look, your grandfather did everything that he could for the sake of Allah. So now, this is his time.
It's his reward, time to get the rewards.
This is the best time of his life. I want you to sit there and think. This man was suffering in a bed in a hospital for months. Now, he is sitting in his grave. The grave, inshallah, ya Rab, is open, and he's viewing his place in Jannah. He's viewing the Hurayn. So imagine his happiness at this moment as compared to how he was when he was sitting in the hospital bed.
So he's actually like, he doesn't have to wait much longer for his rewards.
He is already enjoying his rewards.
He's enjoying his rewards. SubhanAllah, what a nice thought, mashallah. We'll be back in a minute with this wonderful thought about, although a sad occurrence to most, that actually death can also be something positive where people are enjoying the rewards that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for them. We'll be back in a moment, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to viewers on a topic that does eventually affect every single human being on this earth. And that topic is death and how we handle and how we view death. So dear sister, you were saying that death is actually something good, something that we should be looking forward to, because that's the time we will earn our reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we've actually reached our goal.
Exactly.
So if those of us who are left behind on this earth while a loved one dies, especially we women, we have a tendency to overgrieve, to overgrieve by wailing, pulling hair, crying, screaming, asking why, you know, going berserk, really, right? Going crazy on in a certain. So what would your advice be to these people? I mean, whether it's women or men, but usually I was saying women because we have more of a tendency to show our emotions.
Well, I mean, when someone dies, there is a sadness to it. Yeah. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he died for the passing of his child.
Yes.
And when asked about this, he said that tears were a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It washes you, kind of, that's right.
There is a mercy in it, there's benefit in it, there's nothing wrong with missing the person. But we need to keep that into perspective. We need to keep it, you know, everything in Islam is in the middle. You know, you're not too far on one side, not too far on the other side.
So it's not that you don't care at all, don't grieve, go out, party the next day or whatnot, but at the same time we don't go wailing and screaming and crying and throwing ourselves on graves and all sorts of things.
And a lot of times, I mean, this is dramatics, and sometimes people feel like this is what's expected of me. But if you want to do what's expected of you, don't do what the community expects of you, don't do what the family expects of you, do what Allah expects of you. And Allah expects us to understand that this is actually the graduation. You know, the person who dies has reached his goal. The goal of this life is death. We're all working towards death. We're not working towards anything else. Everything else in this life is keeping us away from remembering that that's the end. We are all going to finish in the same place. And it's not a horrible thing. It's not a terrible thing.
Because life, in quotation, goes on after death.
Exactly.
Right.
Not that it goes on.
Not our type of life, but we go on. Our soul goes on.
The true life is the one after this.
That's true.
This is not life. This is just
true.
the test.
That's just temporary.
We were put on this earth for tests. That's it.
Yes.
We're put here to go from one trial to another trial to another trial to another trial. There is no other purpose for it.
And there's a hadith, I think, about travelers, right? Go through this life as if you're a traveler.
Yes.
Travel light.
Live for today as if you were to die tomorrow. Live for tomorrow as if you will live forever. So basically, subhanAllah, we're supposed to live our lives remembering and thinking that this is going to end, because this is not it. This is not the life. The real life is coming. The real life is the one that's after the death. I mean, right now, I open for you 2 doors. In one door, you open it up and it's beautiful. There's rivers and trees, and everybody you've ever loved is standing there going, come, come, there's a big party going on. Come with us, we got a barbecue. And then the other door, you open it up and you're in the middle of the worst desert in Saudi Arabia. And it's the middle of summer, it's 60 degrees, there's no water in sight. And there's no plants, no vegetation, no animals, there's nothing. And you're told, go into one of those 2 doors. You're going to go party. You're not going to go into the desert. Well, this life is that desert. And if we're living only for that life, this desert, this nothing, then we're losing the beauty and the benefit of what's coming.
Just patience.
Exactly.
Just a little bit of patience.
Exactly. So if we're given this kind of a choice, but see, the thing is, we are given this choice. We're giving the choice between Jannah and Jahannam. This choice is ours. If we live this life going towards Jannah, walking in that direction, then we're going to reach there. But if we keep going on offshoots, going on roads to the side and getting away from it, we may end up lost and not able to go back to the right way. So, subhanAllah, we have to keep going towards the right thing. And the right thing is, this life is finite. We're going to die.
That's for sure. That is definitely something for sure. So what are some of the things that we could do, for example, to work towards that?
Well, of course, the number one thing, you know, everybody, you know, especially now in Ramadan, everybody takes out his Quran and starts reading Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and they're reading mechanically. They're reading maybe from their mind, maybe looking in the book, but it's not really reading. We need
They're not reading for comprehension.
Exactly. When we open the Quran and we start to read, we should read in such a way that we understand what is going on and what Allah is saying to us. And then we need to implement what it says.
Like
Try to implement as much as you can. And believe it or not, finishing the Quran in the month has less value than reading just one small part and implementing every single thing within it.
Yes.
Putting into action what Allah tells us, this is much more important. So that's one thing that we can do. Many of us, like me, I'm not an Arab. And so when I read the Arabic, I don't understand a word of what I'm saying. So another good thing is, read the Quran while you're reading it, have in the background, okay, or maybe you put the Quran in Arabic, and then you're reading the English at the same time.
So you get both benefits.
You get both at the same time.
So that's one very beautiful thing, or two very beautiful things that we can do, and of so many things that we can do to prepare ourselves for this final destination, which is death.
Yes.
So inshallah, we'll be back in just a minute. Please stay with us, dear viewers.
The table is a meeting place, a gathering ground, the source of sustenance and nourishment, festivity, safety, and satisfaction. A person cooking is a person giving. Even the simplest food is a gift. Years, months, days. Time goes by so fast, and we're only left with memories. I wish my life comes with tools, pause, play, and rewind, so I could go back to the lovely family gathering.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear viewers. We are on a very important topic that actually reaches all of us in the end, which is death. So dear Sister Sharifa, you were saying that there's things we can do to reach that goal. We're all going to reach the goal of death, but
Yes.
what happens after death is going to be depending on our journey towards death.
Exactly.
So with the things we do, we said we read the Quran with meaning, comprehend it, and of course do so many little actions. And I would like to add something to that, is that we can, other than our common worships that we all know, our prayers, our fasting, we can use everything we do in this life and make the right intention, fi sabilillah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and make that something that will give us that extra little push in that direction.
Yeah,
if
everything we do can be a blessing. Even something like changing a diaper. If you're thinking in your mind, I'm changing this diaper for the sake of Allah, to keep my child healthy, to keep my child clean, you make the intention for Allah, everything becomes worship in this life.
Exactly. So subhanAllah, it's just a matter of that little bit of intention, a little bit of different attitude we have towards the things that we do, and we can make it either something good for us, we can make it something neutral that doesn't further us or keep us back, or we can actually make it something that gets us in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
SubhanAllah. So it's really not that difficult to advance and advance and advance if we do have the right attitude.
Yeah. And if we make the rule for our life halal and haram.
Exactly.
This is very important.
So when we have this goal in mind all the time of death, and we're conscious of death, conscious that death is going to happen, does that exclude us from enjoying life to a certain extent? I mean, I'm not talking, we're not saying haram.
Not at all, not
we're
at all.
Talking
Actually,
about, nature's beauty. We're talking about yummy food. We're talking about enjoying our spouse and the company of our spouse, enjoying our children, friends, going out.
Right. Actually, when my aunt came to visit here recently, she's not a Muslim, and she had all these preconceptions about what her life was going to be here with me, and she thought, that's it, there's going to be no fun. In actuality, I had that woman so busy.
She had a blast.
She did. Exactly. I had her so busy. We had parties that were only for women, and it was the first time she experienced that in her life, and she loved it. She found that there are ways to have fun without involving anything that's haram. So as long as we live our lives, enjoying it is okay. But don't lose track of halal and haram, don't lose track of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and don't lose track of the fact that we are going to die.
And don't lose sight of that. Yes. Always keep that, but without having a doomsday mentality.
Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
Without being gloomy about it. You know, some people might say, oh, well, we're all going to be dying, so we might not as well enjoy, we might not as well buy a new dress. What am I buying this new dress for? I'm going to die anyways, right? I mean, some people might get into that extreme.
Yes.
And like you said, in Islam, it's all balanced.
Exactly.
This is the beauty of Islam. Keep that in mind. At the same time, enjoy life. Allah's given you things to enjoy this life and to make life easy. Take that. Take the easy path as long as it is working towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes, as long as it's halal and it's pleasing Allah.
Exactly. Jazakallah khair for being with us, dear Sharifa, inshallah. Looking forward to more episodes with you, inshallah. It's a real honor to have you on my program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And dear viewers, this was a wonderful reminder for all of us to remember the fact that we are going to, in the end, die. However, it is our choice that determines what happens to us after death. It always, you have to remember, it's our choice that that will lead us either to Jannah or to Jahannam. And inshallah, I hope all of you, inshallah, make dua for you, to all of us, for all of us to reach Firdaus al-A'la, inshallah, and especially in this Ramadan, inshallah. This is a wonderful time to make use of this dua, inshallah, to keep remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have a wonderful iftar, inshallah, and don't forget your Taraweeh prayers. Make a lot of dua tonight, inshallah, especially about this. And we'll see you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.